writers, you're listening to the Kobo Writing Life podcast, where we bring you insights and inspiration for growing your self-publishing business. I'm your host, Stephanie McGrath, and the Publisher Operations Specialist here at Kobo Writing Life.
And I'm your co-host, Joni DiPlacido, and I work on the business team at Kobo Writing Life.
So this episode, we're talking to author duo Piper Rayne. We talked to them a bit about how you actually write a book with two people, which
was not what we expected.
It's not what we expected, and we've learned everyone has a different way of doing it. So that has been really interesting to learn more about. They talked to us a bit about how they built their brand before they even posted a book, and how they kept it quiet that they were two people for a year, I believe, is what they...
Yeah, it's not a secret anymore, but it was.
Yeah, so how they built up their brand before publishing their first book, how they got out there through Facebook, through Twitter. It was a great interview. I learned a lot about writing duos.
Me too. Let's get to it. Make sure you stay tuned all the way to the end of this episode for a special offer on one of Piper Rayne's titles.
Thank you so much, Piper Rayne. Piper Rayne is a writing duo for joining us on the podcast today. So before we begin, can you guys introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you?
My name is Elizabeth Grace. That's what I wrote under first before becoming Piper of Piper Rayne. I've been indie published since late 2013. Under that name, I did everything from new adult to small town romance to erotic romance to romantic suspense. I kind of just bounced around everywhere. So there's sort of a plethora of different types of categories of romance under Elizabeth Grace. And so I did that until Michelle and I started writing together as Piper Rayne back in 2017.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Yeah, so that's me.
All right, I'm Rayne, also Michelle Lynn. I started publishing in 2013 as well, a little bit earlier, like June, I think, so not much earlier. I did mostly new adult, college, mostly, and then maybe some contemporary. I think I was moving into more contemporary. My characters were getting a little bit older before I met up with Elle. And then we formed Piper Rayne to do rom-coms and write something a little bit different than we had both been writing separately.
I guess my next question is, how did you guys meet? And then how did you guys decide to start writing together?
Well, originally we shared an editor, and we were both at a signing back in spring of 2014. And because we shared an editor, we sort of met each other. The editor was also at the signing, and we met each other through there. And we just kind of hit it off. I'm not sure. We were both sort of in the same place. Everybody back then was still trying to figure it out, what worked, the whole indie publishing thing. It wasn't like it is now where you can basically Google and find any resource that you need. Back then, it was really like a lot of word of mouth and authors helping authors. So that's how we originally met. And we had kind of bounced the idea around for a bit, I think, Michelle, about writing together.
Yeah, I think we had come up with another pen name before actually even Piper Rayne. So we never published anything under her, but yeah.
I forgot all about that. Yes, we did. But yeah, we didn't really did anything. So I kind of we just sort of a couple times a year would touch on maybe we should write together. And at the time, no one was doing it. I don't know. We just kind of just kept trudging forward separately. And then finally I guess it was, middle of 2016, I said, look, why don't we just really do this? We were both kind of getting burnt out on writing on our own. There's a couple other people that had started to write together, and readers seemed to accept it. They didn't seem to have any issue with that. So we thought, well, what do we have to lose? We'll give it a go. If it works, we'll continue on. And if it falls flat on its face, then we'll just abandon project and go back to what we were doing.
The market was really changing at that time too, I feel like. That's when the market, I feel like, shifted a little bit, right, Al? I mean, we're writing fast, getting books out more was helping you out a little bit more. So obviously two of us, we can get them out a little bit faster. But
yeah, definitely.
And how does the process work? Obviously, you work very well together.
Well, that has changed over time. When it started, our intention was we would each write a book consecutively. She'd work on say I would work on book 1 and she'd work on book 2, and then we would flip it. The other person would do revisions, and we just sort of trudge along with that. But that stopped working. We didn't find that to be the best way to move forward. So now Michelle writes the first drafts for Piper, and then she passes on to me. I do one set of big revisions before we send it to our first editor. She sends it back to me. I do another set of revisions on whatever she's done. She is a line editor, but she does a lot of developmental stuff a bit too. Then we send it to the second editor. It comes back. I make those changes, send it to the proofer. I deal with whatever the proofer has to say. And then Michelle reads the final copy to put her stamp of approval on it, that she likes anything that I might have changed. And then we go from there.
And do you conceptualize the plot together beforehand? Or do you know exactly what you're going to write about?
Yeah, I feel like we get a pretty good gist. Like we usually have like, I would say like at least 25, 50, 75, you know what I mean? Like, so we know like where the story's going the whole time. Yeah, before I ever start to write it.
But very often that will change.
That's true.
Because you'll message me like, this isn't working. Sometimes you get writing and you have intentions and you start writing and it's just the character's not there on the page. So a lot of times she'll go on her own path with it and be like, I hope this is okay. Like, I'm changing this. And it's always okay. But but yeah, sometimes, you have the best of intentions going in and then it's just not working for whatever reason.
The character's saying something different, or I say, I don't know what we were thinking when we first came up with this, but I don't think it's going to work. And then we brainstorm like another idea. So
that happens a lot lately.
Did you say earlier that it's actually more efficient to write this way?
It is for us, yeah. Michelle is the kind of writer I find who she is like, she can sit and write big chunks in like a day. It's amazing. I'm so in awe of her. I'm not like that. I'm more like what works better for me is like a steady Eddie, where she can pump out a lot of words in a short amount of time if she has to. So I'm better on, I think, anyways, the back end. She probably would agree. I don't know.
No. I like it. Sometimes, I like it.
You're like, yeah.
I don't know. So I work, writing is my full time, and Elle still has a day job 3 days a week.
Okay.
So that does consider her time as well.
So how long does it take you guys to finish a book?
I think 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, like complete.
Yeah,
that's nothing.
That's nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, on average. But
some come out faster, some don't.
Yeah. Yes, some you spend the first 4 weeks doing not much of anything, and the last 2 weeks is a real plug towards the finish line.
We're kind of procrastinators. We're both procrastinators, so that does work out.
We are. It's helpful because we never get upset with the other person because we totally get it.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, we seem to not be able to function unless there's like a looming deadline hanging over our shoulder, bearing down on us quickly for whatever reason. I'd love to change that, but I don't know.
I do my best work when I procrastinate.
No,
That's what I say.
Yeah.
It's true. It's a lot of stress, but it is. We're both the same that way.
Well, you could never have one person procrastinating and the other one not, though. You drive each other.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the partnership is so well.
Yeah.
How did you know that you'd work well together?
Oh, I don't think we did really. I mean,
no, I don't know. We got along well. We're similar people, I'd say.
I think we were similar how we approached to start writing as well, whereas we both did like a lot of classes, always trying to improve our craft. Or Elle, I mean, she's better at the business end than I think I am, but you know what I mean? So I feel like we went into this to get like, similarly, right, Piper? Like even before we were on our own, we both were like actively really wanted this as a career and really.
Yes, and I would say
the same things as being important. And
yeah, for sure. And I think too, also the fact that like Rayne has 2 kids, I have 2 kids. They're all in a bunch of activities. I understand when she's like, oh, I can't do this today because I've got to go to the kids' school to, whatever. And if I'm like, okay, my daughter dances, if I'm like, okay, I'm away at a dance competition for the next 5 days, like, sorry, there's no getting upset with each other. We both have similar lives in the sense that, we both have to put our mom hats on very frequently. Yeah. And I think Rayne's strengths play to my weaknesses and vice versa. We're just lucky that way. I don't think we really knew that going in, but we've been lucky. Like Rayne knows I have the worst memory ever. Like I'll be like, who is this person in our book? Somebody mentioned this in a review. And she's like, it's this. I'm like, oh, right. Like I can't remember anything. And I'm, and I don't know what my strengths are, but I certainly know what my weaknesses are. And that would be one of them. She forgives me for it. So
yeah, I would definitely say we definitely have different strengths and weaknesses. That does work out really well for us. Yeah. And I think that like when you co-write with someone, I think the biggest thing for me is because since I do the rough draft, like it was hard for me at first to like be like, no, she really is right with what she's saying. Because I feel like as a writer, you automatically want to protect your work and protect your characters or whatever you wrote. And I had to realize, it took me a little time to be like, no, she really is like, this is like the best for the situation. Like take myself out of the situation, So that was, I feel like for me, the hardest part when we started to co-write together,
Yeah, and I can remember early on when you started doing the first drafts that she would say like, okay, I'm just going to go through it one more time before I send it to you. And I'd be like, no, you're doing my job. The whole point is like, you're just doing a first draft. You're just getting the words on the page. I will go through and fix all the things. Like, don't do that. So I think, I don't know, but like that probably took a lot of trust on Rayne's part because, as a writer, I hate sending something, even if somebody's like, oh, can I see a bit? And it's not polished and edited to like where I'm happy with it. I hate sending that stuff on.
Right.
So yeah, I know that Rayne was a little hesitant about doing that at the beginning too. I can recall.
Yeah. It's like vulnerability, right? Like you're so vulnerable and you're just like, it's so bad, but.
Which it never is so bad, by the way. But
that's what editing's for.
Yep.
What about after editing? Does one person handle most of the marketing and social media aspect of things?
We kind of have split up all the like besides writing duties fairly evenly. I do all the newsletter stuff. I handle most of the email. My mom is a bookkeeper, so she's nice. So she takes care of our books for us. Shout out to Mom. Yeah, Michelle or Rayne does all the Facebook ads. She's really good. I just can't wrap my head around Amazon ads and Facebook ads. So Rayne can speak more to that. But I feel like we've divided up all the busy work, as I like to think of it, pretty evenly.
Yeah, for the most part, like I'll format and stuff. I feel like Elizabeth Piper does more like the business end of it. You know what I mean? Like the newsletter, keeping up with our social media. I feel like you probably do that more than I do.
True. But I always think that Rayne does it better. Because whenever I'm away and I come back, I'm like, oh, you're so interesting. Like I actually...
It takes me like all day, yeah. But...
Whereas my posts, I'm like, oh, what can I talk about today?
That's true.
Do you ever guys have disagreements about certain things that you need to work through, or you seem like you guys work well? Oh, you have, yeah.
We have not like a major like a fight or anything. I remember we had a disagreement about something plotting wise, and I don't even recall what book it was for. But I don't know if you remember, Rayne. But I remember us both really being really strong in our belief of this is what needs to happen.
Yeah, I think we kind of just like took a couple days and stopped talking about it, and then
we're like, let's just come back to it in a few days. And I don't even remember whose way it went. I don't even recall
remember either.
But
I do remember that. Yeah, I feel like it was the bedroom game series for some reason. I don't know why.
Maybe. I don't recall, but
yeah,
I think
I do remember that too.
Yeah, that's so
too. Where I'll because I can be stubborn sometimes. I'll stick my feet and I'll just say no. I really think this is the way it should be. You know what I mean? And then I had to take myself out of the situation and then think, well, no. You know what I mean? So, which kind of goes back to that whole like protectiveness, But
I think it's sort of like a marriage too. It's kind of pick your battles.
Yeah.
Like if it's something that's not super important to me, or it really doesn't matter either way, then.
Yeah.
And Rayne feels strongly about something, then we'll go with Rayne's idea. And I think it's really only if we're feeling really strongly about I would say it's probably normally plot things. It's not generally business things ever at all. It's normally like story threads and things like that.
Right.
I don't know if you said this at the beginning and I missed it, but do you only write this as this partnership now, or do you both still publish individually?
We do not publish individually anymore.
Okay.
As of right now, we're not. I mean, we still, each of us talk about series that we want to finish up that were under our original names. But we did recently release a duet, which was under our names, Elizabeth Grayson and Michelle Lynn. And we didn't do it under Piper. We did under our names because it was a little bit more angst, a little bit not as like our Piper Rayne stuff is like fun and flirty. And this was a little bit more like emotional and angst and about addiction and stuff. So we did release that under those names, and we hope, we keep talking about maybe continuing to do that too, right, Piper?
Yeah, it's just hard. Like, I love that story. I love that duet, but we didn't pay attention to it when we released it. Honestly, it was kind of like, we're just all about Piper and we sort of just threw it out there and didn't do anything with it. So we didn't give it the attention it deserved to really succeed, I don't feel like. Although I stand by the story, I think it's a great duet, but I think the question,
because we switched roles on that one. So Al wrote the rough draft and I came in after, and it was nice to switch roles for that, I feel like.
Yeah, so I think we'd like to do more, whether we'll do it under, Elizabeth and Michelle, I guess we'll see. It's just, we need to be able to do something where we can dedicate that 50% besides writing that you have to do on marketing and all of those things to make it worthwhile, I feel like. I think there are
There's so
stories
much
we've talked
more.
about, right, that don't fit under the Piper Rayne umbrella.
Yeah.
How is Piper Rayne's style different to how you wrote individually? Is she, you were saying she's kind of fun and flirty in her writing. Is she similar or like completely different to your individual writing styles?
I feel like for me, she's probably a little bit more similar than I think. Probably just like the backstory of my characters when I was Michelle Lynn was a little bit more tragedy stricken, maybe. I don't know.
Well, was you adult?
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
That they had to overcome. Whereas like in Piper Rayne, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I kind of broke up with this guy and I was really upset. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even though I think we've gotten a little bit more into it lately, some of our, the story that we released, well, as we're talking right now, today, Wild Steamy Hookup was a little bit more serious, right, Piper? And I think, but our readers seem to like it. You know, like they had a little bit of a path to them. There was a second chance, and maybe not the family brought in the humor more than like the characters themselves, right, Piper? I mean, that's
I would agree. For me, I would say probably the tongue-in-cheek humor is the same as in my Elizabeth Grace stuff. But like I said, I bounced all over the place as far as categories with Elizabeth Grace. So my topics too, because I was new adult and romantic suspense and erotic, those books all tended to be probably a little more graphic and in the bedroom scenes, and same thing, like more tragedy and just, you know, lots more angst and weighty emotions than our Piper books have. We were very clear when we started with Piper that we wanted, if you picked up a Piper Rayne book, like you knew what experience you were going to get every time. Whereas, you know, when you picked up an Elizabeth Grace book, who knows what you're getting? You know, like I feel like you would still hopefully think that you got a good story, but like it could be super sad or super angsty, or like, you know, people could be trying to kill you, like you didn't really know. So we wanted to be, you know, our readers to know when they pick up a Piper Rayne book, what they're going to get every time. So if you're in the mood for that book, you can turn to it and we'll sort of fulfill that promise to the reader.
Right. So presumably you both had your own readership before going into Piper Rayne. How did you, if you weren't telling anyone who you were, did you have to start from the beginning and acquire readers again?
Yeah.
How did that work?
A sad nod.
We started early. I think February 2017 was when we released our first book, very beginning of February. And we started, I had a memory pop up actually on our Facebook account, I think in June or July with our social media of 2016. So a good, 6-7 months ahead of release, just, joining the conversation, making friends online, sort of.
Prequel, we try to get people and to join our newsletter with a prequel. Which
was very successful. Like we got a lot of people onto our newsletter, and our newsletter has always been very fruitful for us. What else do we do? I think that's
marketing topics. So we went into KU at the time. We started in KU. We are now wide, but we released a book. The first 3, we had all 3 books ready, and then we released them every 4 weeks.
Yeah, at 99 cents.
Us really grow a readership pretty quick.
Yeah, that was the goal. The first 6 books. I can recall us being like, this is not about, earning a living. This is about, getting a readership, having them like our books and want to follow on. So after the first 6 books, which would be 6 months, we moved out of KU and have not looked back since, happily. So, but yeah, I think the prequel and I find too with romance, it's probably different in other genre fiction, but romance readers are very happy to discover new authors. They have their favorites, but if your book sounds interesting to them, they'll pick you up and give you a try and tell their friends like, hey, you should check this person out. So we're lucky in that sense, because I think we had a lot of that near the beginning too. And that's still, actually our first series is still one of our most successful, I would say, when you Rayne, like it still sells like without us doing anything.
So if you were a brand new author wanting to start on this journey, what would you, like when you set up a social media account, so say 6 months in advance, how do you start that? Like, do you just say, oh, I'm writing a book? Like, how does it work? Like, how do you dip your toes in the water?
I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah.
We did that. We just opened up our accounts. We didn't act any different than who we are. Like we weren't putting on like a fake character, and we didn't say that we had never written before. Like we weren't saying, oh, we're debut authors. We said like, we have already published, we're well published, but we're just not telling you who we are at this point.
So it was clear that it was like a duo.
Yes. Okay. Yes, it was clear there was a duo, because we didn't want to feel like we were lying to anybody. So we wanted to be clear, like we've already written books. It's 2 people, we're both women, but that's like all we're going to tell you. And from there, we just joined conversations, like just organically, you know, if you see somebody reading something you think you might like, you know, comment on the post, or if you've read it and you enjoyed it, comment on the post. We started a group early on and invited people into it, gave them sneak peeks as the months sort of led up to release. I know that worked well, but my biggest piece of advice would be to start your newsletter early and getting subscribers. I know probably most authors think like, well, I have nothing to give them. Like, even to give them your process, like, hey, you know, send it out once a month even, and like, here's where I'm at, you know, I'm just sent it off to the editor, here's a little snippet. Readers enjoy that type of thing, and the sooner you can get people engaged and on your newsletter, in my opinion, the better.
And you drew them in with a prequel story ready to go? Okay.
Yeah, it was like 7,500 words, I think, and it was a prequel, and so they got that free if they joined our newsletter. Mm-hmm. It was
It's
kind of like
actually,
for the first book of the series. Mm-hmm.
It's super intriguing to say also we're 2 authors that write and you don't know who we are. I think that's
like the mystery behind it.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Right.
Yeah, we just wanted a fresh start. We just didn't want anybody to, like, we weren't embarrassed of our other books, but we just wanted a fresh start so that people would have no idea what to expect coming into a Piper Rayne book. It's because it wasn't going to be like our other books. So I think about a year out is when we said who we were. I think it was about a year or so after, then we said who we were. And it, you know,
hard.
It was like,
we only really came out because it got to be so hard to keep
secret lives.
I think Al didn't you once post like something on
yes, I
post
did.
something on Instagram, like I don't even know, it was like Elizabeth stuff or vice versa.
Yes. Yep, I did. And then somehow Facebook like linked our Piper account to my Instagram, like Elizabeth Grace account, and one of the readers was like, oh my gosh, like sent us a screenshot, didn't say anything but sent us, and I was like, oh yeah, you found out, that's us.
That's me.
And I think like one reader figured out that like one of us was from Canada or something like that.
Yes.
It was just,
it's just so hard. When you realize like how many things you can't talk about when you're trying to like hide who you are, it just became just too much work.
It sounds like it.
By then we had a readership, so we were like, whatever, let's just
we didn't originally share Piper with our other group under Michelle or Elizabeth. Like they didn't even know, and actually we didn't have a ton of crossover originally with those people either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Piper Rayne fans, like your fans that we didn't have previously, you know, under Michelle or Elizabeth. But,
well, that's cool that you were able to break into a new readership.
Yeah, we were surprised, actually. We thought once we came out, we were going to see a lot of like, oh, I've read Elizabeth, I've read Michelle, but there was like really just crickets, I think.
It really was.
Which was like, oh, okay, well, that's good. We're reaching new people. But but I was surprised that there was not as much crossover as we had thought there was going to be. Yeah.
So you started in KU, and what brought you out of KU? Can you tell us a bit about that?
Sanity? No.
We started
I'm not knocking it. It works very well for some people. I think going in, we knew it was just a temporary, like, basically let's readers read your book for free to get some reviews and get some, like, you know, people talking about Piper Rayne. So it was never a long-term strategy for us.
Right.
Yeah, we were both wide under our individual names as well before that. So
it just, I think by the time the 6th book came out, we were like, okay, are we still going to do this? Yep. All right. And so we're so happy we did.
Did you have to do anything to tell your readers, like, oh, we're moving out of KU, here's a warning? How did you manage that?
Do you remember, Rayne? I'm trying to remember. I'm sure we did give them some warning.
There being like a little bit of, not like backlash, but a couple people were, I think, upset about it. You know, I would say what we gained going wide was definitely, you know, we've reached a lot more people that way than I don't know if we would have in KU, you know, staying in KU.
Did you take them all out at once?
We took them out as they came up. So we had some situations where like maybe book 3 is out, but book 1 and 2 is still in. So that was sort of a 3-month gap at the end of 2017, near the end, where there was like sort of just, it was a little frustrating, but we just had to wait out our time until we could get out. And then we got very fortunate and got a book bub at the end of 2017, which was only a couple months after most of the books had been wide, and that did very well for us. And that, I think, really, to be honest, that's what sort of propelled our career on the other vendors, because we got exposed to so many people and none of the books had been on there before. So like, oh my God, there's like 9 or 10 or whatever, how many books there was at the time for me to read if they liked our stuff after they grabbed the free one.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And we have always, I don't know why, but done well internationally. Wouldn't you say, Rayne?
I was going to ask you that. Where are your readers?
Yeah, which obviously has benefited us being wide, because we're able to reach those readers, I think, better than we could in a program like Kindle Unlimited.
Where are most of your readers located outside of the US and Canada?
Well, we have been translated into German, so that has brought over a German readership to us, even for our English books, I feel like, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. I would say, Australia's big, UK, Netherlands, I've seen starting to pick up when I'm looking at reports. France is decent, not as good as Germany. The German readers have been fantastic to us. Even before we were translated, I think they were really, really good to us. And it's always interesting. I was just looking at something before we came on to see how different series translate on different vendors. Like you'll see like, oh, this series is very popular on Apple and this series is super popular on Kobo. And it's not always the same ones, which I always find so interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't really know the why of that. But I just feel like if you're wide, at least you have the ability to be discovered that way, right? Somebody in Germany can pick up whatever series they like, or somebody in Australia. So yeah, we're big proponents of being wide. We know that KU works for lots of people very well, but we'd rather have our eggs in multiple baskets, so to speak.
So did you always plan to self-publish under Piper Rayne, or were you going to shop it to a publisher?
No, we were going to be self-published, I think, right? I mean, we kick around now going trad. I mean, we're like trying, to pitch it, but I think we're happy being self-published.
Why do you
Yeah, I agree. There's the control is nice, the ability to make decisions and act quickly and pivot if something's not working, and to try new things. We're very much like so many times we'll be like leave voice messages to each other. Well, I was thinking of doing this, yada, yada, and the answer would be like, sure, we spent money on stupider things. Let's try it. Like, we'll try anything once just to see, because you don't know what's going to work. So we'll pretty much give anything a try, I think.
And how quickly you guys write. It makes sense that you would want them out as fast as possible.
And there's always like that, thing about being a traditionally published author. I mean, I feel like, I don't know, like we maybe one day would want it. I don't know. What do you think, Piper? I mean, but we're really happy still being self-published. I
think it would be nice to get in front of a different set of readers, like through being a hybrid author, which hopefully, both sides would maybe cross over for sure. At the moment, we're still just looking indie, but who knows? Like I said, never say never to anything. So
Are you doing any audiobooks? Have you ventured into that market?
We have, I think 15 or more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten to the place where we're getting them done as we're writing the book, which has been really nice. So
yeah, and at first it was a really slow start, I will say. Like I think we were both sort of second guessing whether we should continue to invest in this. But in the last 6 months or so, it has just gone, I don't know what happened particularly, but it just we reached some level and it just went up. So now we're keep doing the audiobooks, but I'm not sure if we reached some level of having so many out that we became more easily discoverable to readers. And that's what happened. Or because it's I think we have 5 series in audio, and I would say 4 of them sell pretty well. So it's not really one series that's driving all the sales. So I'm not sure what it is, but
I wonder if they're the same readers, the people that listen to audio.
I don't know. I wonder that too. Sometimes I see remarks in the group, someone will say, oh, I just a month or so after release, I just grabbed whatever book and listened to it. And I know for a fact that they read the ebook. So I think there is a bit of crossover, but I don't know. I feel like they are different readers.
Yeah, so it's worth doing both then, I guess, and reaching them all.
Yeah. Oh, was there any aspects of writing together that surprised you from when you first started out?
I think maybe and how much I would enjoy it, how the thought of going back and doing it by myself now is really not appealing at all. I can't speak for Rayne, but for myself anyways, I think I would be very lonely. It's sort of a lonely existence as a writer to begin with. So I don't know if you agree with that, Rayne, but that's for me
No, I
anyway.
agree too. You know, like back when it was just me, like I'd be stuck and you'd go to like, yeah, you can still go to like your writer friends or like, you know what I mean? But I don't know, not to say like they're not giving you the best, they're giving you the best advice, but like, so Piper, she's just as invested as I am in it. You know what I mean? So it's just really nice to have that person to really talk through everything. And I don't know, it gives my husband a break too. So if you have
Yes, I'm always surprised at how much Rayne, she'll be like, I was talking to my husband, you know, and he actually has input. Like he has like, you know, some input, whereas my husband, bless him, is just like, I'll talk to him about it, but he has no input. He's like, oh, well, I don't know what you should do.
So yeah, it's nice to have that person to do it with, you know.
So we've talked to some authors in the past that have written together, and they said one of the things that they found really difficult is splitting royalties and stuff like that. So do you have any tips for people starting out or thinking about writing together, and some things that they should get set up before they start?
Well, we did start a corporation.
Okay.
So so that all of our royalties would be under the one, and we wouldn't be like, because I had co-written with somebody prior, just one book. It was like a couple years before, and then so we kept it all under mine, but then I would have to split the money. I'd have to figure out like what I owed her every month, and then like tax time came, I'd have to send her like a 1099. It was just like really confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we both agreed that we wanted to, you know, so we did get our own we got a bank account for Piper. She has like her own, you know, corporation, and then so everything falls under there. So it's just easier for us that everything is together and we both have access to everything. And so I would definitely suggest that. I think it's probably, I mean, I think a partnership, like an author duo, could probably be the same problems as in a marriage, right? Like I'm sure money could cause a problem at some point, you know? So it's easy to have that separated out, I feel like.
Yeah. And I would also say to have a contract. Like we have a contract that we signed between each other, which I got from Joanna Penn's book on co-writing. That basically just says like everything Piper Rayne produces and all her content, like, you know, if anything's ever sold or purchased by, you know, whoever, it's like 50-50. So I would say have that too, because, you know, everything's great while everyone's getting along, but I'm sure we've all heard of many partnerships that didn't work out. And then that's when things become tricky if you haven't, you know, had those conversations at the beginning, you know, when you're getting along and deciding how everything's going to work. I think it's easier to do that up front. And I feel like those are uncomfortable conversations to have, but if you don't want to have them, then you probably need to examine why you're writing with that person to begin with. If you're not comfortable having that conversation. So yeah, separate corporations.
It's a long-term thing or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're just doing like Michelle did a one-off, or there's all kinds, like, you know, we've been in box sets, you know, I've been in a couple, I've
like it's
gotten the shaft on, but
pay an accountant to be filing, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But
is there any tips for writing, you would say, starting out? Because you said it took a while to find your groove, but any programs that you guys like to use that maybe an author by herself wouldn't know about?
Well, I use a Scrivener, which is it's a software that's pretty familiar for the writing community, I feel like. It allows you to do a lot. I mean, there's so much more I don't even know. I don't know, like probably half, quarter of it probably. But that's what I use. I think Piper usually uses Word, right?
I do. I don't know. Some books I use Scrivener, and I have this thing in my head that I can write faster when I'm in Word for some reason. So I have been using Word lately more so, but it's just my preference. I would definitely grab Vellum. That's worth the investment for when you're formatting. Definitely. And my word of advice would be just try things. I mean, you don't have to commit. If you're not sure, try writing in one voice and then try switching it up, you know, if that doesn't feel natural to you. I feel like everybody probably has a natural voice that they lean into that, I don't know, maybe they write best under, I'm not sure. We're lucky just that we get to blend our voices. I think when the books are finished, it's a real 50-50 blend of the two of our natural writing voices. My other tip would just like always be learning. We're kind of course junkies to like a detriment because we sign up for more things than we could ever do. But there's always something to learn. And sometimes you've learned it and then you forget, and then you take a course, you know, a craft course or a business course, and you think, oh, why did I stop doing that? I totally, you know, forgot about doing that. We're big proponents for just like always trying to up your game and being sort of bringing things to the next level if you can.
What courses have you found worth investing in? Is there any that would be worth sharing?
Well, I just took one.
Yeah.
When we were at RWA, which is Romance Writers Association, I took one. Well, we saw Lisa Crone. And so then she had a class, so I ended up taking that one, which is called Story Editing as You Write Forward. And she also writes a book too, Wired for Stories. That's the recent one I've taken. Which ones have you taken?
I would say Margie Lawson's classes are all excellent. They are super intense. So they're not the type of class that you're just going to like fluff over. I mean, I have the notes printed beside my desk here, and the binders, like, nobody can see me, but it's about like 3 or 4 inches thick. Like that's like, there's a lot to unpack, but they're really, really good. So I've done a few of her courses in the past. I love her podcast as well. It's very helpful. I think also, we haven't taken this course, but Becca Syme has a course. She has a book like Dear Writer, You Need to Quit. It's not about quitting writing. It's about quitting all the things you don't need to be doing, I think. And we've heard a lot of good things about that from some of our writer friends. And I think it's more geared towards your personality type and understanding why you do, what works for you, and how to get into better habits. Yeah, how to get into better habits to be more productive for your specific personality type. And then I'm also taking a course right now by Regina Wamba, which is all about Photoshop.
Oh, cool.
And for writers. And I have taken, this will be my 3rd or 4th Photoshop class. And the first 3 I could not, like, I failed miserably. And this one is so great. I don't know if it's because it's just specifically for writers. So she's only showing you things that you're actually going to use to like create a cover or create teasers or, marketing images. But I'm actually able to follow along and understand this time for some reason. If you're looking for something, you want to do your own graphics and stuff, I would definitely recommend her course. And it's Regina Wamba. And she's also a cover designer and photographer.
Yeah, I would add in also, like, a new writer would have to know marketing more than because when Piper and I first started out under our other names, like Facebook didn't really have advertising. You didn't have to advertise like as much as you do now. So Mark Dawson's classes, which I'm sure they would hear of, but for your advertising on Facebook and Amazon and other places.
Oh, that's great info. Thank you. We haven't really had anyone. We need to have a list of good courses to share with people.
So the last exciting question we have is, what is your favorite writing duos to read?
Oh, I think, okay. Mine would be probably Christina Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm on my 3rd book by her right now.
Yeah, we're both big fans of them. We just, I don't know, they're just all great. They're all funny. I finished reading The Unhoneymooners before I went on vacation a few weeks ago. And I said to Rayne, like, okay, you have to read this. It's so funny. I haven't laughed out loud laughed out loud reading a book in so long. And I'm just like giggling reading this book. So I think you just finished it last week, maybe?
I finished it last week, and then I was reading their other one when we were in New York, the Josh and Hazel's Guide to Dating or whatever too. So yeah,
so I think they would be our favorites.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Gotta check them out. They're on my list.
That ever-growing list. Anything else that you've been loving lately? Anything, books, television, music?
Oh, television. I've been hounding Rayne to watch the new Roswell reboot. It's the second. I loved it. I watched the original and was like a fangirl for it back, I don't know, probably 20 years ago. And I really liked this one. It was I was not excited. I was like, oh, like this is going to suck. It's a reboot. But I loved it. It was a much more adult version than the first one was. There's a lot of contemporary themes as far as like, immigrants coming into the country. And so they tied a lot of what's going on in the United States into the show as well, which I enjoyed. And, there's that sort of like love affair there, which is what draws me to it, probably not the alien thing, but, where like, will they, won't they get together? And it's just, the writing is really good and it's a little bit funny and you just kind of left on a cliffhanger at the end of each episode to drive you into the next one. So yeah, I've been on Rayne to watch that for a while now.
Oh, I want to watch it too.
Yeah, well,
it's really the age of
I'm obsessed with New Girl right now, like on Netflix. So I've been binge watching that right now.
Yeah.
Are you watching that?
I used to. I haven't dipped back in a while.
Right, I know. At first I watched a couple. I was like, oh, it's good. You know what I mean? But then as I continued, it was like, oh yeah. And now my husband's like, we're not watching it again tonight.
Oh, and I also got. What did you say you're watching? New Girl?
New Girl, but you're talking about Good Girls.
Good
right?
Girls. I watched that. I binged that, and I was like, oh my gosh, you have to watch this show. It's so funny. And there's this guy with a neck tattoo, and I don't know why, but that's sexy. So yeah, that was another good one that I know it's not new, but I recently just discovered on Netflix this past few months.
And then what can readers expect from you next?
So we're going to be in the Bailey series. So we already have 3 of the Baileys out, which is a series about 9 siblings who are orphaned. Their parents died 10 years prior. As them navigating they live in like a smallish town in Alaska, and just them navigating their life. And obviously each book is about one sibling and their love story as you have it. So we will be having the 5th book will be coming out in November, Demise of a Self-Centered Playboy. It's about one of the twin brothers, so Denver. And then anything else, Piper?
No, I don't think so. We're excited we took a break. We released books 1 to 3 because we were used to doing 3-book series, and this is going to be a 9-book, and we didn't know how readers were going to take to that, if they'd want to continue to carry on or if they'd want to go back into the existing world that we had, because one of the things we did with all our series is the end of book 3 in a series, which is the last book in that series, will sort of tie into book 1 in the next series. So like a character that was sort of like on the periphery of that will be in book 1. So they all kind of carry in, hopefully to, drive readers forward. Whereas our Baileys had nothing to do with any of our existing world. So we didn't know if people were going to want to carry on to book 4 right away or go back into the world we had created. But as it turns out, like readers just loved the Bailey series. And so we kind of were like, oh, maybe we should have just kept going, but we didn't. So now we're going to be, our plan at this point is to release books 4 through 9 all together consecutively, rather than taking a break in between.
Oh, wow.
Since readers seem to really be enjoying that series. I think that's probably our most popular series, I would say. So yeah, and we love it. It's fun. It's like I don't know. I feel like when we're working, it's kind of like a cozy coming home feeling for me. I don't know. And I think maybe readers get that same feeling to it. So yeah, we're excited about that.
Yeah. And where can listeners find you guys online?
Probably the best place, the most central place is on our website, which is piperrayne.com, and Rayne is Rayne. And we're most active on Facebook and Instagram, which all the links you can find on our website as well.
Perfect.
Awesome. We'll share those.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
We have an offer exclusive to KWL podcast listeners. From today until November 16th, you can download Piper Rayne's title, Lessons from a One-Night Stand, first title in the Bailey series, for free. Go to Kobo.com, enter the promo code KWL PodStand to get this title. All one word, KWL PodStand.
Thank you for listening to the Kobo Writing Life podcast. If you're looking for Piper Rayne's titles, make sure to check out our blog, or if you want to learn on how to grow your sales or finish your first book, visit KoboWritingLife.com.
If you're ready to start your self-publishing journey today, sign up for free at Kobo.com/writinglife. Until next time, happy writing.